And welcome back, everybody, to the wonderful WSSEA Spring 2026 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Playoffs. This is going to be very interesting. Of course, my name is Edu, and on the desk today, I do have the wonderful Soy Sauce to join me in casting over some Smash Bros.
It's going to be an awesome day here. WSSEA always brings the action, and Super Smash Bros. There's just nothing like it. This scene is so much fun, and I can't wait to jump into our bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of Scholastic level players that want to showcase that they're actually pro. And here today, they're going to be doing just that with a very interesting bracket that we've seen them kind of battle it through here. Of course, right underneath us, you might be noticing that we have some sponsors to thank as we get this stream started. Zotac Gaming and LandFest. Of course, the production being brought to us by LandFest and Zotac Gaming, wanting to make sure that you guys have a shot at some really nice graphics card and peripherals. But before we get into more of those sponsors, let's talk a little bit about what we have planned for today. As we did talk about, this is the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate games that we do have for our playoffs here in the spring semester. And this is going to be very interesting looking at some of these teams. It is a best of 3 head-to-head in our semifinals that we're going to be starting off here.
Yeah, and in these best of 3 formats, right, you've got to be quick to get the advantage, right? You've got to jump out to a good start in this type of bracket format. These players have been playing for a while as well, deep into bracket play as we get into our semifinals matches. So these players are warmed up, ready to go, and are ready for this stage.
Absolutely. And this stage is set here. And now let's get into that sponsor here, Zotac Gaming. All right, we got to give them a huge shout out here to making this possible. Of course, if you're a parent watching at home, if you're a player, you want to be able to take a look at this sponsor, because when it comes down to making sure that your kid is prepared the most, what can prepare them even more than having the best possible PC to play some of these video games today? And of course, you can take a look at Zotac Gaming by giving them a shout out on social media as well. So make sure to join their community on Discord, and of course, head on over to social media where you can use the hashtag powered by Zotac or hashtag Zotac USA. And of course, as you saw from that wonderful intro, we're expecting great things from them, but let's expect some great things from our players as we will be shortly getting into this. It looks like we have Tenino MS Middle School versus Glacier MS Glacier Middle School. So let's jump on into this kind of gameplay, as I'm kind of curious to see what kind of mains these guys are going to be picking up here, as you know, Smash Bros is a game where counterpicking is involved, and at the Scholastic level, it's going to be very interesting to see who's coming to the table with some really strong DLC characters, who's got that one main that they have absolutely honed in.
Yeah, I find that at the Scholastic level, right, it feels like a lot of players have, you know, at least their main character, but then they've got a handful of pocket characters if maybe they don't like a certain matchup here or there, and that's likely what we'll see throughout this bracket run. But I'm very interested in kind of the solo mains, right, because it feels like those are the players that they've put in the most time, they've put in the most effort to master their characters and master the movement, master the combos, and bring that to the table here in this bracket. So I'm curious to see what players are leaning towards, whether it's towards the heavy, you know, 2 or 3 interaction wins to get the stock type, or maybe we look for some of those light, faster characters that need the multiple interactions and multiple hits to get to a point where they can take their stocks. So we get to see the full array here, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple character swaps throughout our best of series.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, this is a younger audience and a younger player base, so seeing those mains completely honed in might not be a thing. Sometimes we might see some players that have that flexibility, that say, okay, I have a King K rule, maybe I'll swap to Kirby, you know, being able to, you know, balance this out. And, you know, that brings me to my next question here for my co-caster, Soy Sauce. What do you main? What do you play when you do play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
It's I would say it's been a long time since I've played, and I was just off camera, I was like, man, it's been a while since I've actually sat down to play this game. But when I played, I liked my heavies. I mostly rocked Donkey Kong in this game, was kind of my bread and butter. but I did like other characters. Like Incineroar was another character I really enjoyed playing. So some of the heavier characters were what I tended to lean towards. But I also liked my fast characters because I got my Super Smash Bros. Start in Melee. So give me, Fox, Falco, right?
Yeah.
Some of those faster characters. So I'm curious to see if that's an option that gets thrown out, because those are characters that have been around for a while, and although the moveset has changed from game to game, you generally know what to expect from those characters.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Seeing heavies is a good option here. Personally, I really like playing Duck Hunt. I think Duck Hunt is really fun. But looking at them jumping on into this game shortly, we are going to be taking a look at some heavies, as you were talking about. Two heavies, Sephiroth versus King K, not King Roy, that's Donkey Kong. Seeing DK on the board against Sephiroth. So this is a traditional Smash icon of Donkey Kong versus DLC character that only can be shown up here in either Final Fantasy or an Ultimate.
Yeah, so for this matchup in particular, we go to Final Destination here for game number 1. DK has a pretty well-rounded kit for a sort of brawler type. The ability to live long is kind of the strength of the heavies, but Sephiroth, the big key here is their range, right?
Yeah.
The sword just covers so much distance, and that's one of Donkey Kong's big strengths, is that they have a little bit more reach than some of the other heavies, and Sephiroth kind of counters that with the range of their sword, and that's what you're kind of seeing here. That's the struggle here for Glacier. Can they get in? Can they get to the combos? Right now they're going for some dash attacks. A grounded up B helps. Lots of armor on Donkey Kong's moves as well.
Oh!
They go for the spike though, and it's just off stage.
Wow, already we're seeing our first SD of the day, but Sephiroth is going to be able to get back on the stage here with the respawn and try their best to go for some more damage here. And Glacier Middle School already looking pretty happy about that, but Tonino, they do have a shot at making sure that these guys stay back. And honestly, what I'm looking at here is the survivability coming out from this Donkey Kong is looking pretty clean with the down spike. Absolutely execution perfect, but he's very low, and Sephiroth doesn't need much to knock him off the stage.
Nothing feels better than landing that forward air spike. It is fantastic, and I'm impressed to get that hit, as they'll answer back with an up smash of their own, the Sephiroth. But to land that forward air spike around the down B, that's a counter coming out, and it's a tall one. Sephiroth is one of the taller characters, so for him to get above and land that forward air spike, that was impressive to watch.
Yeah, very clean, but we are seeing that, the Sephiroth ain't done yet, doing some decent damage back and forth. The zoning that we're seeing here is keeping Glacier at bay, but with that mistake that we saw earlier, they are still down a whole stock, but these counters are almost flawless. But no, we don't see the DI, and unfortunately, that is a Donkey Kong that will be off the map.
Got caught there by the side B. Sephiroth's side B is a projectile that when it lands, it lingers around you, and eventually it will time itself to hit you. And there, I think Glacier just kind of lost track of the timing. You can air dodge around it typically, but that time the counter took too long, but he'll land instead into a forward smash, and the power of Donkey Kong will take game 1.
Absolutely beautiful job there. Glacier MS in this best of 3 starts off with 1 point. And of course, that means that they only need 1 to keep this ball moving. However, Tonino MS, they still have another shot at tying us up here, as we are going to be getting this battle right back into it. And let's see if anything is going to be different here. I think that the Sephiroth definitely, fool me once, shame on you. I think now it's time for the Sephiroth to really start to showcase that downward spike, because although knocking him off the map, can do a very good job at taking Glacier off the map as well.
Yeah, I think throughout that game 1, Sephiroth had a little more control, right? Landed more hits, but just the SD at the very start, and then unfortunate landing options ended up causing them to pay the price. But you can see at the very beginning, right, they're able to control the stage so well. There's no easy options to land for Donkey Kong, and even things like the counter were really effective. I know it ended up being their downfall on stock number 2 on the spike, but the number of times that counter landed, I think kind of outweighs the downside of it, as even there, it's going to take the first stock of game 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. In this level of play, you're going to be seeing very hyper-aggressive play styles, and it definitely favors heavies here. But what I am noticing is this counter is exactly what its namesake does. It completely shuts down that kind of play style. But let's see if we can see the adaptation coming out here for Glacier, as they still are up a whole set.
They're even using it at the last moment. That was a great forward air to poke away at the last moment. But the counter has its own hitbox, even if it doesn't land. So even if it doesn't quite connect as the actual counterpart, hitting Donkey Kong with another move is, again, another landing gets caught by a forward smash to tie up the stock count. But it's just option coverage right now from Sephiroth, right? There's nowhere really for Donkey Kong to run, and every time he has to swing, he'll get caught by that counter as it takes stock number 2.
Yeah, trying to bait out that counter is going to be pretty difficult here. I want to see more grabs coming out from the DK. That could be everything they need. But again, if we just keep seeing Tenino going in with these wonderful counters, then this is going to be a much different outcome than our first game here. And the Sephiroth, feeling a lot more confident, is going for that damage and that poke with that long range, as you talked about earlier. But, DK's doing a good job at zoning off that range that he has.
Sephiroth's starting to land some grabs too, and that's big for them to hold this lead. As they try and land, they don't get the neutral air, and they'll fall right into the hands of Donkey Kong. So back to a tied stock game, and tied stocks in Super Smash Bros. Well, it's even until you get caught by a neutral B. Now you're up to 130. Up air's not going to find the stock quite yet. Up B, I like the idea to chase him down, but isn't able to quite land it. A back air catches the jump. Another up B across the stage. Won't kill Donkey Kong from that range, but he won't be able to sneak past the second time the up air will kill, and we're back to a tied series.
Yeah, back to it being tied 1-1. Sephiroth there, utilizing those counters to counterplay their way to a tied game yet again. But let's see if they can seal the deal, as the Donkey Kong is ready to bring it on. And of course, what we do want to see is if these guys are going to do any swaps here. This is the chance at a tied game. Maybe, okay, heavy versus heavy might not be the best when you're getting hard countered by those hits. We might see a little bit of a swap here for Glacier, but I believe they are selecting and getting ready for our final. I think they got this. But speaking of getting ready for the final, we have 4 teams that are going to be going up into the grand finals here for the season. So I think there is a lot of pressure. I know when I was a kid and I was playing in my sports, there was a lot of pressure to win, especially when you get this late in a tournament. So I hope that pressure is making diamonds and not making them fall.
They stick with the same characters here. Maybe a stage swap coming in, because Final Destination is just so volatile, right? It's so ping-pongy, the way that the advantage state can swing for both these characters. So I'm curious to see where we end up going here. I think, again, the amount of counters that we saw from Sephiroth just played such a massive part, but they've got to be more careful with their landings. There's a grab that you mentioned, right? Donkey Kong really loves to get grabs, has so many good combos. That was a dangerous forward air. Up B will trade in return, but having the platforms here on small battlefield makes things a little different this time around.
Yeah, a little bit different, but the damage is still being dealt. Small battlefield, there's a lot of places to hide, and I think it honestly will be favoring Sephiroth in the long term. But what a counter, being able to just launch Glacier's player all the way to the other side of the map, and almost getting it down there. But look at that combo. Will manage to just completely get the lead, but this time we will be seeing the block that we weren't earlier. And, talking about the blocks, there is a lot that this DK player is pulling out.
It seems like a big change up here is, the up B angle, unfortunate there, right? Just goes straight up, and there's no real fade to Sephiroth in that special fall. So unfortunately, facing the wrong way, couldn't snap to the ledge, but will answer right back. Sweet spot on the up smash, ties things up. But I actually like the way that Donkey Kong is playing, a little bit more patient and starting to get some grabs, starting to find some combos too, but they can't get too aggressive because that down B comes out so fast.
Yeah, coming out real fast here, but we are going to be seeing the dodge and the grab, but we're not going to see the combos. This is the thing about DK. You know it best. You play this character. You can go for those grabs and really just set up everything you need to win it, but instead we're just going for that up throw, and I'm not really sure if that's really what we want to be doing here, but at the end of the day, it's the Sephiroth who's zoning so well, and look at that counterplay.
I actually like the idea to dash away there, knowing that it's probably going to be able to swing back. Doesn't actually use the DK punch, and whiffed on it, but found a dash attack either way, got around the up B, and he'll get to the platform in time to land the smash attack. Down goes stock number 2. He's trying to earn some extra credit here on the final stock. Doesn't quite land that smash attack. Now he's got to find a way back down to center stage. He'll get the spike. What a combo. Dash attack to forward air to clean things up, and they steal game 3.
And that is going to be our first semi-final best of 3, heading on over to Glacier Middle School. I'm sure at this venue you're going to see a lot. Oh, it's a best of 5. Never mind. Seeing these guys wanting to lock this in. So it is a best of 5, not a best of 3, which means that there is a chance that we see the Sephiroth tying it back up. Sorry for the debate. We are now back here to see these two continue on their streak. But now that we know it's a best of 5, there's still opportunities for these players to change up the strategies.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's a great play by the Donkey Kong there. That is a bread and butter combo. Dash attack into forward air at kind of a mid-low percentage. If they're off stage, you got to go for it, right? Just in case they're able to land it. And there's just enough hit stun for you to be able to get over to get that spike hitbox. So really well done by Donkey Kong and Glacier to take that second game in that fashion, to recognize that window of opportunity and jump on it. But now Tenino on this Sephiroth, they've got to find a way to bring things back. And again, it feels like they have the best advantage when they've got this Donkey Kong in the air. When they can win that first neutral interaction, they can gain such a massive percentage lead, but they've got to be able to clean up these stocks. The strength of the heavies is that they only need to win 2 or 3 interactions to take your stock. You cannot allow them to live in the red percentages for that long.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely been a main concern when it comes to confirming what you start. But right now, we are seeing just a little bit of chip from both of these guys, but the counters are still unreal. Hopefully, we're going to see a great little down spike there. And put in the ground, lots of damage. You talked about being in the red, and here we are. Now, how long are they going to stay in the red is the real question.
Up to 90% now, make it 100 on the Donkey Kong. That's going to get shielded. That should be a punish. Up tilt underneath, gets an up smash to follow up, and the up air chase down in the skies. Great job there by Tenino to get one back, and that, I believe, is the first time they've taken the first stock in this series. So a good early lead, but it will evaporate quickly. Forward smash does the trick, and that ties things up at 2 apiece.
Yeah, but of course, 2 apiece is where we're going to want to see this overall best of 5 go, and that is up to Tenino, who is unfortunately going into this at a deficit. But will we see this consistent Sephiroth gameplay turn around? More grabs. We're seeing that wonderful gameplay really start to turn this back, and a huge amount of damage being dealt. But again, we've seen this DK in the red for quite some time. Let's see if it's going to be that confirm that ends it.
Dash attack. Won't be able to take the stock. Forward air will poke Donkey Kong away. He's actually able to get over top of that last aerial. So again, surviving in the red. DK punch does not quite land. We'll have to wait to charge that back up. Dash attack gets countered, and at that percentage, that will do the trick. So Tenino back in the lead here. 2 stocks to 1 and only 63%. The danger here is Sephiroth is one of the lighter characters in the cast, so that's why you're seeing Glacier find so many strong hits, killing a little bit lower percentage, but just like that, they're almost able to answer back. Dash attack to knock them off stage once more. Platform is gone. Up being into the stage is a bold move, but it pays off. It gets them back, and that will nearly knock DK off the top.
Alrighty. Tenino's unfortunately not able to secure it quite yet, but we will see the recuff coming out here from the Sep, and that is the down spike to maybe confirm it, but the forward does not quite connect, and we are looking at both of them deeply in the red. And talking about deep red, 169%, managing to take a whole stock here. Very clean coming out from Glacier Middle School, but the counter will be guaranteeing the game.
Tough spot there. You always feel like even if you're a heavy in the red like that, you think, okay, maybe if I just get one, neutral win, if I just get one hit, one combo starter, maybe I can come up with something. But there, the down B, the counter just comes out too fast, and at 169%, like you said, doesn't matter. Anything hits that shield at that percentage, it is likely going to do the trick, and it does there. So, tied series up at 2 apiece. Looks like they're running it back. Maybe one more stage change coming through, but I think this is very close between these two. We've seen some good adaptations throughout this series for both sides. We'll see where they opt to for the deal breaker game 5.
Yeah, deal breaker here, and this is finally. I know I claim that the game has already ended in the best of 3. This is where the best of 5 will come to the completion, unless it's a best of 7, which it isn't. So we'll see them lock this in, as we are looking at quite a bit of damage here. Already 40%, 60%. And where was this Donkey Kong? Oh, that's where. The counters are what really has slowed this guy down.
So aggressive off the start here. Air dodge is actually going to get caught. This is a big opening here for Tenino if they are able to find this next hit, but up B clips them. I think this stage 2 regular battlefield is actually, I think the way these players are playing, I tend to favor this for Glacier because these platforms make the juggling a little bit easier for them to escape. But speaking of escape, they're unable to there. Dash attack catches them and takes the stock.
Yeah, but immediately we are going to be seeing a 0% trade-off, which bounces us back to a 2-2 stock, and we are looking at a back and forth between the light chip damage, but at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to those finishing moves, which I think that this Sephiroth is kind of honed a little bit against this opponent, but we do have the fully charged DK punch that might be able to balance this out, but it's the blocks and the shields that are really protecting Tenino.
Oh, armored through the neutral B there. That was a crazy interaction. Up smash doesn't land. They don't find it off the punish, off the down air either. Can they get in? They get a grab, up throw. No cargo options, and maybe that's what Glacier is searching for here, but doesn't find the forward air. Instead, it gets traded with a back air. Sephiroth back air, one of the stronger moves, and can certainly kill early, but doesn't get the sweet spot of it. But a grounding there. Doesn't get the follow through with the down smash. Another opportunity gone by the wayside.
Yeah, we're just seeing a little bit too much of a pushback here, but we are looking at decent adaptations, and we are going to be seeing the down headbutt actually working out to spike him. I've never seen them use the head to spike downwards, so that was an interesting tech, but it did work out in their favor. But how much damage can we do before we get traded off? And it actually looks like we're back again to a 0-0 tie.
I cannot recall the last time I saw Donkey Kong side B spikes. Donkey Kong's got 4 spiking moves, and of all of them, that is the hardest one to land. So that was wild to see, but they've got to close things out. They've got to find a way to get this last stock, and they've got the pressure on right now. And the up B, the angle's too high, too far away, and just like that, Glacier, the Donkey Kong, is moving on to Grand Finals.
I mean, you got to use your head if you want to get ahead and you want to move on to the finals, as he said. So taking a look at these guys, Glacier, MS, this middle school is going to be hopefully reigning a champion soon, but we got to first find out what's going on the other semifinals. Who is their opponent? But before we move on with that, we are going to say a special shout out to Tenino. You guys put up a very solid fight. That was an intense best of 5. And at the Scholastic level, you were seeing some very interesting tech being pulled out. So I'm very proud of all the players that they were able to put forward today. But yeah, looking at that, very happy with this.
Yeah, it's awesome to see the middle school competition here, right? It's so interesting to see all these schools get involved and field a different cast of players for different games. And for Super Smash Bros, right? It's always a fascinating scene to see the range of talent and the array, the character selection, things that come through, and to see it here on this stage, it's awesome to see. Unfortunately, Tenino's run ends here, but congratulations to Glacier for winning that series and getting to top 2 in this bracket.
Absolutely. But before we are going to be jumping straight into more games, we are going to let a little bit of time be for a break. Let these students get ready for their next matches. So we will see you in a short amount of time. But when we get back, it is going to be our second match of the semifinals. And welcome back, everybody, to the WSSEA Spring 2026 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Of course, we just watched the first semifinals here, but I misspoke. I said we were going to go down into the other semifinals, but as my name is Edu, and his name is Soy Sauce, I lied. We're actually going right into the finals here. So, Soy Sauce, who do we have on the docket for finals? We know one has a really good Donkey Kong.
And that's going to be Glacier Middle School on that Donkey Kong. They will be fun to watch. They'll be going up against the Super Mustang Smash Masons. That'll be a fantastic matchup to watch. That is going to be a great final, as that semifinal just wrapped up moments ago. But we saw Glacier versus Tenino in that semifinal, and if that is any indicator of what this grand final will be, we're in for a great set.
Awesome. Let's get right on into some replays of that previous set so we can just talk a little bit about it, maybe hype up Tenino for their wonderful attempt here to get into that finals, and of course take a look at one of the competitors we are going to be seeing here with Glacier Middle School. Obviously, starting off, we did see that a little bit of SD, but it was the down spikes coming out from this Donkey Kong that I think truly secured their spot in the grand finals. But let me ask you this, Soy Sauce. Where do you think Glacier ranks when it comes to how these guys performed on Donkey Kong, a character you said you have a lot of experience on?
I think they did pretty well. I like two things specifically about their gameplay, and you called out one of them, right? The number of spikes they were able to find was really impressive to see on a character that should be able to kind of wall them out with the long sword in Sephiroth. But the other thing that I feel like Glacier's Donkey Kong did was catching landings. The number of times they were able to find a forward smash, find a dash attack, and combo into it. I felt like their presence and awareness of where they were on the stage and being able to get back down to it was really what gave them an edge in the games that they won.
Sure. I think taking a look at Glacier Middle School's Donkey Kong player, I think the biggest thing, you know, we could talk a lot about what they did really, really well here with their spikes and, as you said, their forward and just their overall stage presence. But the thing that we saw them kind of, you know, falter a little bit, something that if you're about to play into them, you want to write this down, and that is they are susceptible to counters very often. These counters from the Sephiroth were so clean, and that's what made Tenino keep up with this DK and really almost secure it for their spot in the grand finals here. So I want to see if maybe this DK is hopefully going up against another player who does have a solid counter play option. Any type of counter should be able to make it so this is going to be a very interesting match. But if we see someone picking a character that doesn't have one of those counters, this is going to be very different.
Defense is always hard to learn in fighting games, and in Smash in particular, counter is one of the kind of quick options, and Sephiroth here for Tenino really made great use of it, like you called out. But I think that's the other key, right? Is if you don't have a counter, you've got to know when to hold shield, roll away. And I feel like that's where Glacier, on the flip side, right? The reason they were getting caught so much was because they recognized their window of opportunity. The second they got a hit, they instantly wanted to follow up. It's the hold forward energy, right? You see your opponent in hit stun and you want to go off and attack them. But you got to be aware of frame data. You got to be aware of how quickly they can get out of things like that. So those are the opportunities that maybe the Mason Middle School can kind of swing things around in. But we'll have to see what they bring to the table first.
Absolutely. And as we're looking at the final way that this game went down with yet again another clean spike and unfortunate SD, we are going to be looking at a very solid chance here for Glacier to continue their momentum. But we haven't seen how Mustang plays. We haven't seen how Mason Middle School wants to be able to rock it and roll it. So let's get started here as we're getting right on into a very interesting setup here. What do you think that they're going to be locking in? Because, oh, heavy again, heavy into heavy. I'm looking at some Incineroar.
You know, I didn't know what they played beforehand when I mentioned the two characters, I swear. That's news to me. But the Incineroar coming in here against Donkey Kong, two of the heaviest hitting characters in the game. You mentioned the counters. Well, Revenge is one of the scariest ones in the game. You'll see it used frequently by Mason Middle School there. It instantly does a ton of extra damage or knockback on your next hit that you land. And they will throw it out frequently because of that option. So now the tricky part, getting back to stage, and they're able to do so there. Dash attack with Revenge nearly killed it under 100 against one of the heaviest characters in the game.
Yeah, that is the one thing about Incineroar that I could see this being a big problem for the DK is you talk about stage presence. This is one of the characters that has a lot of it, as well as, you know, we saw a lot of these players in the red last game. And, you know, when you're in the red, that's really a bad thing unless you're Incineroar. Incineroar actually kind of welcomes it. So I'm hoping that we're going to be seeing a little bit of a turnaround here, but already 2-2, we're looking at an even game, but Mason does have this Incineroar kind of locked in for some very clean gameplay. But what a combo to get this Incineroar off the edge of the map.
Just a couple swings back and forth, landing. There's another revenge. That side B is going to be vital to Mason's success, as well, as they are going to be able to launch them, not off the top quite yet, though, but I do like the mix-up. Things like revenge into the clothesline can be such a devastating combo because it's very easy to follow up with. Somehow forward smash does not quite find the mark there. They get caught on the platform, too, and Glacier taking advantage again, finding the up smash.
Yeah, Glacier doing a really good job at just really knowing that this character has a very broad kit, and they are using 2 points of it to absolute perfection here for the lower levels of this. But honestly, I am very proud that we're going to be seeing this tied up 1-1 as we go into our first of this best of 5.
Another revenge landed. And he grabs there. It's a command grab on that side B too, so the armor tricks that Glacier's Donkey Kong likes to use will be nullified by that combo when they opt for it. So you gotta look for that as this series goes on. Another clothesline lands. Still should be able to survive, though. Get up attack will help chip away at the percentage. It's pretty even, but that one stalled out their revenge and found a forward smash. Tries to go for the edge guard. Should be able to make it back. Another revenge. There comes the side B. Doesn't quite find the mark. He tried to call him out, but he gets grabbed instead. And again, it's even as he snaps back to the ledge.
Yeah, that DI definitely saved the game, but look at this grab. Oh, not gonna hit, but it's a counter grab. Dodge grab, dodge grab, dodge death, as the game is going in the favor of Mason. And this Pokemon is starting us off with a very solid showcase. But look at the damage dealt, 503% for only 3 stocks. This is a lot of back and forth between these two players, and I'm very excited to see if they are able to keep it up.
A little bit of panic at the end there in the scramble, right? Both players knowing all they need is really one strong hit, one good follow through. But that is the difference between these two characters. Incineroar has a little bit better time going for the burst options, right? Things like the dash attack or the command grab into, throwing them into the ropes. It's a little bit faster or a little bit easier in terms of covering distance than, say, Donkey Kong dash attack, which is good, but it's not going to find a kill at the higher percents. You're going to need something stronger. So the options at Mason's disposal are a little bit easier to go for than what Glacier's Donkey Kong has in the scramble moments, and I think that's kind of why that last sequence played out the way it did.
Yeah, but now this sequence, we're seeing Glacier starting off quite strong. Mason wanting to now even it up, and all that immediately tied things up with one move. And if you're going to be careful about anything, it is going to be Mason's grabs. Glacier having to, kind of be worried. This is an Incineroar. You might just melt, but Glacier keeps up that very prominent damage, and Mason, they just need to try to even this out. But these are some very heavy forward hits.
So I think the other thing that's helping here is this stage switch. The up Bs from Mason are landing on the platform, but then they're falling into the hands of these smash attacks from Donkey Kong. So it's an easier follow-up on a very limited recovery for Incineroar. And right now, though, Mason's working his way back into the series, the number of side Bs that are landing, and that will be an easy follow-through with a forward smash. The up B doesn't quite snap to the ledge there, so back to a tied game.
Yeah, back to a tied game here, but we are seeing it go slightly in the favor of Mason damage-wise, but it's just back and forth, and we are seeing these grabs really just elevate how much this damage is happening. But we need to be seeing a little bit more from the kit of Glacier, and that spin move is going to be able to try to even things up. But again, we are not seeing the same value in the spikes as we saw against that Sephiroth. Glacier in a little bit of a pickle here. Remember, this best of 5 could lead to a match advantage point coming out here if we do not see Glacier managing to tie it up.
Oh, that dash attack saved him, and he'll catch the air dodge down. Up smash does the trick. That was a big stock, I think, for Glacier to take, because now they can get started on that extra credit, start to work on that third and final stock. Look at the combo strings, 3 or 4 hits strung together there, and most of them aerials. Very well done, but they get grabbed here. Clothesline will send them off stage. They should be able to make it back cleanly. Another revenge comes out. Good grab into back throw. Doesn't get the edge guard, though. Still, everything working in favor right now of this Glacier Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and of course with Glacier just trying to push him all the way out is going to be taking the game up to stocks. Very solid to tie us back up to a 1-1. And if you guys do not know, this is a best of 5 here in the finals. So with that being said, we are in for the long haul.
Adaptation is always key in a longer set. Being able to just flip a switch and recognize a window of opportunity and go is always important in sets like this. And I feel like Glacier's Donkey Kong is a little bit more patient and finding those windows of adaptability. Their patience allowing them to recognize, hey, most of the time they're going for the side beat. They're going for this command grab. If I just dash away, all of a sudden they're in forward smash range or they're in side B range. If they use that move, it's slow to get out of that animation. So I can punish them for it. I can get an extra hit. And that's where you saw, I think, them get a couple extra advantages, be able to string together things like that dash attack into forward airs. So finding those windows, I think the patience from Glacier is allowing them to see the game a bit better, and it's finding them extra percentage chunks throughout the sort of mid portions of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. We're seeing a lot of the same move coming out from Mason. And to take a finals in a spring 2026 WSSEA championship, you're going to have to pull out all of the stops, all right? And we might need to just see that in this next round. But with Glacier now tying this up 1-1, we still have a minimum of 2 games to go. So there's a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room for back and forth. But Mason, they're excited. They want to get on into this game with skill, and I definitely see them having that. And honestly, I really like the Incineroar pick here, especially knowing how potent we saw some of this gameplay. So I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of a back and forth between these guys, but let's talk maps because we haven't actually touched on maps for those watching at home. When you are playing in a Smash tournament, there are tournament regular maps, and then there's other ones that are completely illegal, like the map No Fair. So let me ask you this. As we know, Soy Sauce, are we going to be seeing some decent map picks here?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we saw Glacier go for Final Destination. We've seen Small Battlefield. I think a Battlefield pick could be in the works. Maybe a Town and City as well are typically the maps that we see kind of counter-picked to. We also tend to see some runbacks just because if you feel like, hey, I dropped that game because of this, that, or the other thing, and, you can run it back if you so choose, but once both players have won on a map, you can't really go back to it. So I think that's why we end up going back to Final Destination here. He's like, well, I'm okay with this stage. I don't feel like it was a massive advantage either way, and why not go back to a comfort pick for both these characters? Both characters like having the stage to work with, and especially Glacier on this Donkey Kong. They caught every landing possible there and were able to eviscerate that first stop.
Oh, good return, kicking them out of the map there. 0-0 now, but again, we're seeing those forward smashes really connect here for Glacier, and that's exactly the kind of game plan that this guy has, but the spikes are unreal, and Mason needs to get back on that stage, but will we see it? Oh, okay, look at this. They are adapting. They're realizing, oh, wait, maybe we do go for more of those counters as we are trying to see it, but the difference between this counter and Sephiroth's, it's a lot shorter of range, so this is, you have to be up in their face and kind of gamble a little bit, but that's the gamble not paying off in a 1-2 as Glacier is in the lead.
I think they've started to scout it out too, right? They're positioning themselves accordingly, so even if they don't land the swing, they're pulling back a little bit so that it's just out of range. They don't get the counter, and even the follow-throughs off of that revenge are a little bit harder to land, a little bit harder to follow through. That's a good grab up off the top. Not going to do the trick quite yet. Back air. Jump used. Has to up B early there to get around that potential edge guard. But I love the way that this Glacier Donkey Kong is able to land multiple hits. It's not just the neutral air. It's neutral air and a back air. And it's going out to get that stock. The forward air off stage cleans up game 3.
Very Well played. Donkey Kong being able to now take it again with 2 stocks still remaining now puts them in the match advantage point. I call that map point because these guys have one more place to go to lock this in. But no, honestly, before we get off of this tournament, I gotta be seeing this Incineroar, this Pokemon on the Pokemon map. Where's Kalos? I want to see some really cool maps here. I want to see more of these guys. But of course, with this DK, I am again seeing just more and more confidence. Are you witnessing this too? Because they're moving way more than what we saw against that Sephiroth. I think the Sephiroth zoning really scared them, but against a very close quarter brawler like Mason here, I think it's going to be very interesting to see this confidence keep building.
Absolutely. And I think the other part of it too is Donkey Kong just generally with most of their moves has a little bit more range than Incineroar, so they can get to their game faster. And you saw the way Glacier just loves to advance, right? The second they get that hit, they're instantly trying to follow through with another. And against Incineroar, it's a bit of a double-edged sword unless that revenge doesn't land. And right now, they're able to space around that move, around the counter, and it's giving them such a great advantage state.
Oh, absolutely. But as we were seeing Mason this time with a beautiful counter, being able to balance that out, but kind of bit off more than they could chew, as we are going to be seeing Mason go off the map. But can we see that execute, as it is the DK 130% and not quite traded yet. The DI is doing very well for this DK.
I'm actually shocked that the forward air landed and got him back to stage, but that should do the trick. 203 across the stage, coast to coast there with the clothesline. They caught the jump, but it's on stage, so they bounce instead of falling to probably their demise. What a revenge and a grab there as well, but they don't get the clothesline, so no real follow through. There's a good chunk of damage, up to 58 now. Dash attack and maybe a jump use. A trade on the up B, has to follow through here, goes right into the legs of that forward smash. Nowhere to run to. Mason on the chase down will take the stock back. Incineroar's back in the lead.
Yeah, back in the lead, but we're not seeing the grabs anymore. Oh, but these counters are actually stopping a lot of the spikes, but 2% to 0%. This could be the final stock here for Mason, unless we are going to be seeing a complete turnaround, and Glacier does not want to take it quite yet. But as we are looking at this, the counters are doing so much better now for this Incineroar, and they've kind of matched up with the knowledge check of the range they need to be playing at.
Scary spot here for both sides. That's double revenge, I believe. Grab gets the up throw instead. Not a ton of percentage, but it almost nearly killed off the top there. Now he's without a jump. He's got to find a way back to stage. He got spiked. It's a trade, and Mason comes out on top. Some way, somehow, the Incineroar survives.
That was the closest I've seen a finale coming out for one of these sets, but it is now going to tie us up. Welcome to 2-2 Glacier Middle School versus Mason Middle School, as you are looking at these middle schoolers getting schooled and ready to keep this going, as now you're going to be looking at the tiebreaker, I do believe. And this tiebreaker is going to be very interesting to see if it is enough to really start popping off.
I can't believe that that's the way game 4 ends, is off of a trade of spiking moves there. Forward air from Donkey Kong, and that up B, it can spike, but the hitbox is a little tricky to land sometimes for those moves to interact with each other in such a way that they both end up spiking, and one of them even hit the stage and maybe had a chance to tech, maybe not, but still, for both players to fall in that fashion and for Incineroar to survive it's shocking to me, because that's a move that sends you down at such high velocity. You'd think they'd fall a little bit faster with the trade, but either way, a stock gladly taken, a game gladly taken. It keeps their tournament lives alive, and now there's one game that decides the winner between these two.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty scary. Honestly, pretty scary to see the deciding factor between these two games. I'm honestly taking a look at hopefully what we're going to be seeing from Mason, being that very solid counterplay that we had back to back to back. But I have to say, watching that semifinal, seeing how this Donkey Kong can adapt, both of these players have been doing a very good job at trying to learn their opponent. And I think that's what really matters here. To learn that opponent, you're able to lock this in. But who has more knowledge. Getting into this last round, it is going to be very difficult to see them pop off, but I think they have the shot. But Glacier has what it needs.
Both players locked in and ready to go for game number 5. They go back to small battlefield. Glacier's Donkey Kong had a big advantage on this stage. They were able to just catch recovery after recovery, but one interaction evens out the percentage. 2 revenges and then 1 clothesline gives this Incineroar back the lead here early in this matchup, but this could be their stock. Don't have a great recovery option. Up B's not going to get him there. Maybe side B could have worked, but it was a long way away for a limited recovery.
Yeah, that's side B. I don't think they were going to be able to get on the point. But, you know, that's the thing about Mason. Even though they're down, they are not out for the count. And look at this. Oh, beautiful. Both of them went for the same grab, but this time it is still favoring Glacier, who is doing a great job edge guarding. But no, Mason! Instead of the side B, which would have saved them, they unfortunately go straight down. And now with 1 stock left, there's a chance that we are going to be seeing a 3 stock difference in our final set of this best of 5. As you're looking at Glacier, this DK just consistently zoning them off.
They're finding so many hits here, but this is not out of the woods. Incineroar has made, I mean, if any character is going to make a comeback, it could be a character like this, where they thrive in the red. If they are able to survive, land a couple of revenges, land a couple side Bs, they're willing to take some trades, but can't take too many of those. They're up to 80, up B, they land on stage, 40% right now on Glacier. They opt to recover high, they get caught again. Up B's again, helicoptering away, but this will lead to another grab, and that's another offstage opportunity. Goes for revenge instead, doesn't find the hitbox. This could be a chance to follow through. Another grab, doesn't get the follow-up, and up smash will do the trick. And just like that, Glacier is your Grand Finals champion.
Very solid plays coming out from Glacier Middle School. Donkey Kong is going to be able to take the cake. But with that being said, this is the end of the WSEA 2026 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I gotta hand it to every single player who managed to make it this far. You guys did an amazing job, and let's shout out every player in that bracket. Representing your school is one thing, making it to the round of 16, round of 32. You guys wanted to show up, play some video games, and look good while doing it. This is a very, very good showcase for the Scholastic esports level. I think that a lot of these players have potential esports careers ahead of them starting this young. I mean, when I was this young, or when I was that young, I wished that my school put on a esports tournament, but we had chess club and flag football at the middle school level. So seeing these guys play, it's very nice to see that they have yet again another outlet.
And WSSEA does such a great job with this too, right? The number of high schools that get involved in the esports scene. For the middle schoolers here, this is just the start, right? It was a lot of work for them to get here, to get to this stage, and for a lot of players to get this far in bracket was really impressive. And I can tell you a lot of the high school scene will be watching events like this to see, hey, this is an event for the public to see. The eyes are watching events like this to potentially say, hey, you want to come play for us, you want to start maybe an esports team at our high school. So it starts at a very young age, but these players, they're in the scene and they did a fantastic job in it. So well done to all our competitors, and again, congratulations to Glacier for winning the grand final.
Absolutely. And hopefully you guys are getting scouted for the high school teams, and then maybe even scouted for some colleges coming up in a few years. But before we sign off, we are going to say a special thank you to everyone watching at home, as well as one of our main primary sponsors down here. That is going to be the broadcast of LandFest. We could not do it without LandFest as our primary backing. And of course, LandFest Scholastic Esports program, a program that supports this league and many others. Since launching, LandFest has delivered over 300 broadcasts to Scholastic leagues in Washington and Indiana. And we provide these broadcasts free of charge to the leagues, the schools, and the teams that we get to cover over here at LandFest. So your generous donations can make this possible. Just so you know, every $200 raised can cover an entire operating cost of one regular season broadcast. So if you want to see your student still pop off here on stream, then make sure that you help out LandFest so we can be at your school to showcase what we can do for you. So if you appreciate our work, please scan the QR code on screen and donate today. But with that being said, I do want to also shout out everyone behind the scenes here at LandFest Production. Thank you so much, Soy Sauce, for being on air with me today. Shout outs to Connie for being the main producer behind this show. And of course, we have Taylor, who's doing a very good job on being the real spectator here, our main primary observer. I believe he's making sure these players are ready to get on air with us. So again, without our team behind us, this couldn't happen. So shout outs to those players, shout outs to those producers and people behind our team. But with that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and we hope to see you again next time.